Welcome to Rise Up at Work. I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra, and today we're unlocking the work life you were meant to live. You're watching Now Media Television. Welcome to Rise Up at Work. I'm your host, Dr. Deepak Bhutra. This is the show where we get real about performance at work, what builds careers, what builds leaders, and what separates potential from progress. Today's episode is a special one. We're going to talk about sales as a life skill, the career advantage no one talks about, a different angle. Sales is not just about closing deals, it's about communication, confidence, resilience, and influence. Skills that shape every career path. My guest is someone very special. Raghu, or P. Raghuraman, or Raghu as we call him. He is a sales leader and educator behind sales art, and someone who spent decades helping professionals sharpen the skills that make them more effective, more credible, and more adaptable. Raghu, welcome to the show. Let's start with a very simple question. What do you do? What pain do you solve? And what should I bring to you that you can help me with?
Deepak, it's always a pleasure to interact with you. It's wonderful to see you. I am a sales trainer and a sales transformation consultant by profession. After having spent more than 2 decades in various sales and marketing roles in many companies, from small to very large Fortune 500 companies, last 13 years I have been on my own, you know training sales reps across industries, verticals, market segments, experience levels. And I also help many startups with my sales transformation consulting. And I've also published a book, DNA of a Champion
Yes.
Salesperson. You can check this out on Amazon later. I'm happy
Thank you for
to
that
interact
introduction.
with you.
Absolutely. And I assure you, the excitement is all mine, the privilege is all mine. Raghu actually has got a statistic that blew my mind, listeners. Raghu has coached more than, I would say, it's a five-digit number. Raghu, it's what, 50,000 people you have coached in the course of your year, that
Yeah,
lives you
I
have
mean,
touched in terms of training, coaching?
yeah, absolutely. Me and my team, we have trained more than 70,000 sales persons.
So
So I
when I
personally
hear
would
a
have done
statistic like that,
thousands and thousands of salespersons.
thousand, and that's exactly why you're here, Raghu. You bring to this forum, I would say, not decades of experience, because that multiplier effect has kicked in, right? So we're going to have lots of fun today. I really want the audience to listen very carefully. Raghu, let's start with very early career lessons, right? You moved into
Yeah.
sales, and I think you have a very unique story about that, but it's not about the story. What surprised you the most about sales when you started your career journey in sales?
See, what surprised me most was it was not all about your IQ. It was more about your EQ, the way you're able to relate and connect to people. I still remember at the start of my sales career, I would learn everything about my product and then go and wax eloquent in front of the customer, tell them everything about
Yes.
my company,
Yes.
my products, how great we are, etc., etc. But then every customer would say, great, nice listening to you, we will get back to you. you know and then
I know
one
that
day
feeling. Yes, sir.
one customer told me, he laughed and said, uh, all that is great, but do you know something? You never asked me, am I going to buy? And we have already bought for this year. I'm not going to buy anything for the next 10 months. So see me after 10 months. We can discuss next year's procurement. So that's when it hit me
Wow.
that selling is not about me, it is about the customer. So I should be actually asking questions and trying to understand about the customer, the current situation, needs, wants, problems, issues, so that I can connect and then give them the right proposal solution. So that actually kind
Wow.
of surprised me a lot, and but it made me a better salesperson.
You know what's really interesting is that, Raghu, we go through sales training programs, right? And what consistently surprises me, which is a very early learning that you're sharing, is the ability to actually understand you're there to solve a problem and you're there to resolve someone else's
Correct.
issues. Start with them, keep them in the center of your conversation, things should go better. And what is really interesting is 99% of the people know that, but 99% of them will not deploy this because they're not thinking the right way. And I think it's a great pivot. The question that comes to my mind is that if this is the case, and you and I agree that communicating with the customer, keeping the customer at the center is important, Why does communication determine long term career growth even outside of sales? How would you answer that?
Simple. Imagine a service engineer talking to an irate customer.
Hmm.
Customer is shouting, angry. How is this engineer going to handle that customer? Imagine a finance manager or a finance executive presenting the OPEX plan to the management on cost control, or a purchase
Yes,
manager trying to convince a vendor that he needs additional 10% discount. If you actually look at it, everything is about communicating. When you're on a team and you have to deliver a project and you have to get 20 people to work together, I mean, you're not in sales, you're a project manager, but the whole collaboration is about communication. So
that
if you
is so
actually
true. That is
analyze
so
it,
true.
every single role, communication is the backbone.
Raghu, what's really interesting is that communication is at the fore with sales. I think we've established that. But communication is also the fundamental foundation for every role, is something that I wish more people understood. If I look at my own coaching work that I do, Raghu, one of the things I've always realized is that when you talk to people about their performance reviews, I would say if half of the time is not being coached on how to get better at communication, then there's something wrong between you and your manager. If you do everything else right, but you fail on the communication part, I think you've done everything wrong. And I don't know how better to emphasize that. But that was a great point. And now, this also seems to be something that you captured very early in your career, right? Now, besides communication, what's the best formative advice you received very early on that my listeners should hear and think about very carefully? And how did that advice, which was that formative advice, shape you as an individual and as a salesperson?
See, I would share here three things, but quickly. First was about being punctual, you know, uh,
Yeah.
always being punctual, being 5 minutes ahead before every meeting. This gives you a much better control of your sales interactions. Second,
Yes.
I remember when I was moving from front end to a product management role and I was being interviewed by the CEO. So the CEO asked me, Raghu, do you know our working hours? So I told him, yes, sir, it's 9 to 5:30. He said, I didn't ask about the office hours. I asked you about the working hours. No, that's when it realized that as a product manager, I need to be available to my sales team and channel partners. And
Yes.
finally, when I was in this great company where I spent close to 10 years, Hewlett Packard, the rules of the garage, there is one rule which really hit me very hard, which is like work quickly and keep your tools unlocked, work whenever, which means you
Yes.
must be ready for any situations. So these are the three advices that actually have shaped me a lot throughout my career.
And when I listen to those three, I can tell you, Raghu, that's another book by itself, right? I mean, you have covered a lot of these items in your storytelling and your great way of communication, but I think it's extremely powerful. And I would actually encourage people to focus on these three levers. These three levers are going to guarantee you, I would argue, Raghu, maybe 90% of your gain is going to come just from these three levers. The rest is all noise. Thank you for that, sir. Really appreciate that. Now, Raghu, there's something you wrote once on LinkedIn, which I read, and that's one of the reasons why I was very intrigued in reaching out to you. You wrote that sales should be treated as a profession and not a personality trait. Would you elaborate a bit on that? Because I really think my listeners enjoy this take that you have on this.
Uh, See, at the end of the day, let's be very clear. We are living in an industry, in a world where most brands compete with another brand with almost same value propositions. There are hardly any differences, be it the product features,
The
the price
commoditization of
positioning,
something has, yeah,
service, everything. You take the latest AI today, whatever ChatGPT has done, Anthropic is doing, or Perplexity is doing. So quickly people
yes,
catch up. So, what is the only differentiator between the companies? The quality of their salespeople. You
mm,
need salespeople to go out there and sell to your enterprise customers, create those channel partners, alliance partners. So, which means sales is what today defines every big company, whether it is Microsoft out there or Nvidia out there.
yeah,
You look at it. This is the sales team. I mean, you have worked in HP in the past, so you know the
Yes,
difference that
yes,
sales team makes. So
correct.
I'm and today, unfortunately, most MBA degrees or bachelor degrees in management teach sales in a very small part, whereas most of these college grads come out and end up doing sales. So I really want to see sales as a specialized college program, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. It is a
That's
full-fledged profession.
it is. And in fact, I like that approach of yours because, Raghu, if you think about professionals, right, we have this impression, and a lot of people tell us, right, that, oh, salespeople are born Deepak because look at how good they are and how they communicate and stuff. And Raghu, I think you would agree with me. In your and my career, we can tell you about character and traits, yes, but to be able to say that someone's DNA is against them, I've seen short people, tall people, I've seen people of every race being successful in sales. And I think most of it is down to the 3 points you had made earlier. And I really enjoyed that. So personalities come and go, personality traits go through fads. We're also living in an era of massive change and massive change, right? Competition comes out with something, your other competition comes out with something X. The common denominator, which I really like that you shared, is at the end of the day, it's the salesperson remains at the core. He is the person that pivots as this commoditization occurs in his product or his service and keeps that message very unique. Raghu, I really enjoyed that. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and think about segment two. Up next, we're going to talk about discipline because long term success isn't built on hero moments, it's built on consistency that people can trust. Stay with us. We'll be right back with real stories, fresh insights, and action steps to help you rise up at work without losing yourself. You're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Your ambition built your success, but somewhere along the way, your ambition took over and started running you. Hi, I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra. I'm an executive coach, sales strategist, and host of Rise Up at Work. I've spent 3 decades inside corporate walls, a long time. I've been witness to how pressure rewrites purpose, and when you lose sight of purpose, how the right mindset can help you reset and write a greater story. Rise Up at Work premieres soon on Now Media Television. Remember, it's time to move from surviving to thriving. It's time to rise up at work. And we're back. I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra, and you're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Let's keep reclaiming your career and learning how to truly rise up at work. Welcome back to Rise Up at Work with Dr. Deepak Bhutra. Want more of what you're watching? Stay connected to this show and every Now Media TV favorite, live or on demand, anytime you like. Download the free Now Media TV app on Roku or iOS and unlock non-stop bilingual programming in English and Spanish. And by the way, if you're on the move, catch the podcast version at www.nowmedia.tv. From business and news to lifestyle, culture, and beyond, Now Media TV is streaming around the clock, ready whenever you are. Welcome back. Let's carry on with the conversation with Raghu. And now we're getting into the discipline side of sales, the part that separates talented from trusted. And we all want to earn the trust of our customers because organizations don't scale on occasional heroics. They scale on predictability, accountability, and leaders who build trust through consistency. Raghu, welcome back. Raghu, why does predictability matter so much? I mean, we talk about forecast, accuracy, leadership, trust in sales, but why does predictability matter so much?
See, things don't work in isolation. You have a factory which has to produce. It can only produce so much in a day, in a shift.
Yes.
Similarly, you have so much of capacity constraints, whether it is your warehousing, trucking, your channel capacity, or what customer can take in. So, a lot of things work on uh, commitment and forecast versus the commitment. For example, I had a manager who was always very clear that whatever you commit, you have to be within the 95% to 105% of your commitment. If you're
Yes.
below 95%, that means you were not prepared enough and you did not escalate in time to ask for help. If you are more than 105%, you had no clue about what's happening with your own business. So he was pretty
Oh my
ruthless in
gosh.
that way. See what commitment and trust forecasting especially does is, for example, I'll just give you one example to make this point. Say you
Yes.
have a product which takes 4 weeks to ship, and you're negotiating with the client for a very large deal. Now the client is only going to place the order by end of the quarter, but you need that
Yeah.
revenue for the quarter. Now you are able to forecast, get the material ready, keep it in the warehouse ready, get the order and turn it around in 3 days. So you've committed, you've forecasted to your internal teams. You have also taken commitment from the customer, channel partner, and you have made sure everything is
You've
aligned and it
yes.
happens as per
Yeah.
your commitment. And when you do this, now everybody starts trusting you. You're a man of your word. You say what you do and you do what you say.
Mhm. And Raghu, this word about trust, right? And a lot of people tell me, Deepak, trust. It's so difficult to get trust. Trust, yes, because you earn it. No one gives it to you. You have to earn trust. And that mindset that you're talking about, like you said earlier, Raghu, get there 5 minutes early, do what you said you would do and just do it. These are all important things, right? This is also character defining. People love working with someone that's reliable, predictable, right? Now we spoke about this, and there's something as you were talking about all the activities that one should do to make sure that forecast happens. More than most of the conversation you had was not about selling anymore. It was also about internalization. It was about structuring the teams internally and making sure everyone is singing off from that same piece of paper. Very powerful. But here's the question that I really came to my mind. If that is true, then why do organizations reward consistency over big deal velocity, volatility, right? I know I don't want volatility, and that's a great benchmark. You did that. Why do organizations reward consistency then? Because that sounds counter to what sales stands for, right? Our job is to get more in the funnel and just pump it out and get more deals, right? So why reward consistency?
Because consistency is what keeps things aligned, keeps all the variables aligned, whether it is your OPEX, your CAPEX, your forecast, your materials, your market shares. See, uh, a big deal is an outlier. It has to be treated as such.
Yes.
You cannot form your P&L and forecast basis that one big deal. Then there is something
Yes.
fundamentally
Agreed.
wrong with your business model. You know, most of the times, if you see, markets are either flat or growing at a standard growth rate. So you need consistency. Only at few moments or few years in the entire life cycle of the technology or the product or the industry, you have this crazy growth period, a tornado phase, like how it was for smartphones, say 15 years back, when suddenly in 2 to 3
Yes.
years the adoption went crazy. So those are the times when consistency takes a backseat and you want to cater to everything possible. But 90% of the times you need consistency.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
makes business predictable. Your whole
It's
P&L
very
will be aligned.
very powerful. And I think there's a message here, right? If your P&L is fluctuating and you can't get the basic discipline right, you're sending the completely wrong messages to everyone watching your results also, right?
Absolutely.
And I respect that. What was really interesting in what you're saying is that if your forecast is dependent upon large deals, which you call outliers, right? And if you're counting on a lot of outliers, then it's not an outlier. It's becoming, it should be the norm. And you and I know that it's
Yeah,
never going to become the norm. In fact, Raghu, one of the earliest
absolutely.
stories I actually had was that I had a salesperson that qualified for Platinum Club in Hawaii, of all places. And he was a pre-sales engineer, Raghu. And you know that these are the individuals that are typically not in the forefront of getting those type of opportunities. He called to tell me that he has to skip because his wife is not sure she wants to travel to Hawaii. It's too long travel. And she said to wait for the next big deal. And my response to him was, no, you cannot predict big deals. They come and they go as they please. The deal that you got rewarded for and selected for is a once in a lifetime deal for any salesperson. Please go for the trip. He went for the trip, and his wife and him sent me a note afterwards to tell me they're grateful for their advice because they had such a great time. And I think this is the reality. You're in that euphoric moment, but consistency is what matters. And if you're starting to predict consistency and outliers, you
Absolutely.
have a problem right there. I love this conversation. It's about the consistency over heroics. And we've been arguing about that for a long time. And I agree with you on that one. I have a question for you. In sales, every sales leader talks about leading indicators, right? So let's focus on that a bit. Raghu, leading indicators versus reactive selling. What should professionals watch daily or weekly? What would your guidance be?
See, reactive selling is a no-brainer. We all react to situations and do whatever best
Yeah.
possible. But smart people work proactively. Proactively means looking at the leading indicators. For example, when you're reviewing your funnel, a simple question: Why has why are we taking more time to send our proposals? You know, or
Hmm.
things like the number of demos I have given last month. Why has it gone down? So that is a leading indicator. Tell you that your funnel is actually becoming smaller,
Correct.
or instead of just looking at funnel from an operational perspective, I look at it strategically and say, hey, why am I not able to see all my premium models in the funnel? That's a leading indicator to tell you that your
That's a
ASP
leading
is going to
indicator.
drop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Similarly, your market research agencies which give the forecasts, those are leading indicators. Similarly, external events in the market, like for example, your forex fluctuation, or let's take, let's take today's situation when you have
Yeah.
this Iran and Middle East and this situation. There is a very
Yeah.
clear indicator out there that if your funnel is dependent on leisure, transportation, tourism, and hospitality industry, you're going to struggle. You
Yeah.
need a plan B now to achieve your numbers.
Yeah. Yes.
So
And
leading
plan B is not
indicators
going to the
makes you
and plan.
absolutely leading indicator makes you a hunter and not the hunted.
That's powerful. In fact, again, I seek your permission to put that on a T-shirt. I see a lot of sales coming.
Yeah.
Raghu, there's something very
Yeah.
profound in what you actually said there, right? Yeah, the hunter mindset, right? A lot of people hear that word and they react to it. And my response to people is it's not a physical manifestation of you standing with a whip or a gun in your hand, right? That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is about mindset. And I think this is very important. Raghu, when we talk about growth, right? And in sales, if I want growth, one of the biggest things that I've realized is that the most mature salespeople are the ones that ask for help very early and very quickly. What
Correct.
have you noticed? And why do people wait too long to get the help they need?
See, I see two, three issues. One, the behavior of the team lead or the sales manager. When you have a manager who says, I don't want to listen to anything, I just want results, then you don't go and ask for help. That's number one.
Yes.
And
Yes.
second situation is when you have this whole thought process in your mind that, hey, if I ask for help and if I do get help, then the credit will get shared. I will not get the full credit for achieving this. So
Agreed.
that not thinking, that small thinking also comes into a lot of people's mind. So if you see, they don't think as an organization and a team. So this is why people don't ask for help. But if you actually ask for help, you will realize that there are multiple people willing to help you. And as you rightly asked, there is a multiplier effect. People will
Yeah.
actually appreciate you. Short term, someone may say, hey, this guy always asks for help. But long term, people appreciate that thanks to him, today we are able to hit those numbers, hit those growth numbers, especially.
Raghu, as you were speaking, what really hit me, what I've always thought about is that if you look at AI today as an example, right? The same mindset where you express a lack of not knowing and asking those questions to get those information
Correct.
is actually the best way to do prompting in AI also, right? You penetrate, you ask, you reposition your question, you look at it from different angles, you become a devil's advocate. And I would say that if someone is prompting, then there you are. That's your lesson right there. You can also use the very same thought process in asking those questions by lifting your hands up and saying, I don't know, please help me. Yes, there is this human stigma involved in sales, right? We're supposed to be superman, superhuman, right? And no one wants to admit how much they use AI or how much they use other people's reliance to deliver a number because they want to create that illusion, right? And I respect that. This is a great conversation. Coming up, we're going to talk about resilience, fear, rejection, mental strength, and why sales can build executive presence faster than most careers, and why it is going to deliver to you better dividends if you understand that very early, the compounding effect. We'll be right back with real stories, fresh insights, and action steps to help you rise up at work without losing yourself. You're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Your ambition built your success, but somewhere along the way, your ambition took over and started running you. Hi, I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra. I'm an executive coach, sales strategist, and host of RISEUP at Work. I've spent 3 decades inside corporate walls, a long time. I've been witness to how pressure rewrites purpose, and when you lose sight of purpose, how the right mindset can help you reset and write a greater story. Rise Up at Work premieres soon on Now Media Television. Remember, it's time to move from surviving to thriving. It's time to rise up at work. And we're back. I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra, and you're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Let's keep reclaiming your career and learning how to truly rise up at work. Welcome back. If sales is a life skill, resilience is the muscle it builds because selling puts you face to face with uncertainty, rejection, and pressure repeatedly. It's the salesperson's curse. Raghu, a lot of capable people leave sales early. In fact, one statistic that blew my mind was 35% of salespeople in enterprise sales exit enterprise sales by the age of 35. That statistic initially I thought was very wrong. I went and actually dug into it. It's actually higher percentage. 35 at 35 just sounds more cooler to say it, right? But the number is actually higher. Keeping that focus. My suspicion is that a lot of these people are very capable, but they leave sales early not because they're not smart, but because they don't know how to process that emotional load. I really want to talk to you about this a bit because I think there's so much you can offer because you've seen salespeople not just from a technique point of view, but from a mental load resilience point of view. Sir, simple question for you. Why do many professionals leave sales early? What's the real reason? What's going on?
I think the first is the whole number pressure. Having to day in and day out make a commitment and making sure what you committed happens. So this puts a lot of stress on people, especially because most of the times you actually commit when though you know you're actually you don't have the kind of funnel to deliver on your commitments, and then you wing it. You figure out as you move on during the month
Yes.
to somehow manage it. So that's number one. Second is people also get very frustrated about being on the road a lot, getting out,
Yeah.
meeting customers, the harsh sun, different weather, all kinds of food that you have to eat outside. And I've seen
Yeah.
people even citing health reasons, they just move away from sales. Let me go to an office
Fair.
where I can sit, throughout the day. And the third thing also is they get very uncomfortable having to constantly persuade and convince people. It becomes very, very tiring for them that they have to keep on convincing people because otherwise the rejection kind of hits them. You have to constantly persuade people and people reject you. And this kind of psychs a lot of people out. According to me,
That's
these are the
very true.
reasons I've seen people move out of sales.
Very true. Very true. In fact, in case you've noticed, Raghu, I would agree with you. If I think about the top four reasons why people leave sales, I don't see managers in that list as much as I see things like you, what you mentioned. And a lot of people listening in might be actually wondering about this food angle, this road angle that you raised. But you're right.
Yeah.
If I look at my own personal circumstance at age 33 and then at age 35, when I finally left sales to go into sales operations, I left sales because I actually was exhausted all the time, juggling these denials, these rejections, and so on, right? And a lot of people are very surprised when I admit that. But the reality is that I found a graceful exit and I still did what I loved, which is supporting sales. Raghu, we spoke about rejection and we said the fact that you get a no, you expect a no. What's the healthiest way to interpret a no that you would tell someone listening to us right now who's in sales?
See, I always tell sales team, especially people who I can see that they're under pressure because their numbers are not happening, that
Yeah.
customer rejection is not a no, it is simply not yet. So you have to trust the process and keep at it, you know. And one of the most important things salespeople need to do is start taking feedbacks. Many of the time, they do not take feedback from customers and partners on why the deal did not go through, why that opportunity did not materialize. I personally
Mhm.
have benefited a lot when I've asked customers. The same customer who has rejected me for one full year has given me a lot of business in the next couple of years. You know,
Fair.
it's about
Yeah.
asking the customer, hey, what's wrong? Can I fix it? Can I fix it? And then they see the effort from you. And the last thing we have already discussed, so I won't spend too much time on it, which is asking for help.
Yes.
So if you don't ask for
Very.
help, you're always going to struggle.
That's the, it's very interesting because we expect that the answer that you are going to give is about, oh, it's all in your brain, you can internalize. No, and I think what we're saying is that no, you need to accept the fact that you will win some, you lose more. That's fine. And being stuck on the losing part of it and then ruminating about it, I think is where most disasters occur. Which is one of the things that I used to do quite a lot, is take that no very personal. And I really like your approach that you got to accept the fact that there's going to be ups and downs. You need to internalize that and move from that basis. Raghu, another thing, when I think about my time in sales, one of the things I used to struggle with a little bit was about the fact that sitting at that table, I always had the mindset that the person across from the table buying from me is more important, which is true in one sense, right? But when we talk about equal stature mindset in commercial conversations, what does that look like in practice from a good rockstar salesperson's point of view?
See, there are multiple angles to this, Deepak. First is the pressure and the desperation gets to you. So people move from, they initially start by pitching very assertively, smartly, but then they move
Mhm.
to a stage where they try to please the customer. Then they start pleading with the customer, you know, and and you can also do a graph, and you will see the pleading starts increasing as the month end and quarter end and year end starts coming.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, indeed.
they are no longer talking to the customer like this, they're talking like this. This is also to do with, in my view, trainings. There is a lot of training about brand value, culture, that needs to be built in sales organizations, where they are taught that, hey, we are equal to the customer. There is an honest exchange happening of goods and services with money. So it is not like one side is like this or the other side is like this. You're both equal. And the
Yes.
second thing also is, there is a lot of training and hands-on experience that managers need to do with salespeople, especially when they make CXO calls. Many times, salespeople are very comfortable meeting the gatekeepers, the low end, the procurement manager or the IT
Yeah,
manager.
the
But when
procurement
they
and
actually
yeah.
meet the decision maker, they don't know what to talk. So
Mhm.
so they always are a little, they look at it like the decision maker is doing a favor to me.
Which was the genesis of my question. So I really like that response, and I think it's more about. But there's something you said that I wanted to just check with you in that. When you are dealing at a certain level and you get used to dealing at that level, you adopt a certain style. But we suddenly
Correct.
realize that that same style will fail you when you migrate upwards and you're now talking at a different level. And I think that's a very powerful message in what you said there. If I were to give advice to people listening, the advice I would give is look at the amount of time you're spending with at what level and where, and know for a fact that when that ratio starts changing, you will struggle because you've got your entire thought process and your training now geared towards a certain level of conversation. Always try to visualize and be one step ahead. And I think that's a very powerful message in there, because I never thought about it from a ratio point of view, right? At the end of the day, if I'm always dealing with, let's say, level zeros, but when I end up with a level one, I am bound to do something which because will be wrong or misplaced because I've been trained on level zeros. Very powerful. Thank you for that, sir. So I'm going to switch gears here, right? How does a salesperson then shift from anxiety to action, right? I'm always fearful of a loss. I'm always fearful of this equal stature, but I also want to have proactive control. How would you guide us on that?
See, I can only tell you from my experience how I kind of conquered that. First and foremost, start their day early. So what happens when you start the day early is that you're able to do all your back end work, sending emails, doing your proposals, whatever, you know, before the business hour starts. Like you were mentioning at the beginning of this interaction before the recording started about how you like to start the day early and keep the productive hours for your customers. That's exactly what
Yeah.
is required. Then you realize that you are much more in control and you are not running against time. Second is, do
Yes.
not procrastinate. If whatever you have committed, try and make sure you complete it that day and then go home. So you will be able to relax with your family better. You'll be able to sleep better. You'll be able to enjoy better. Very, very important. And
Yep.
one last thing is, uh, you know, When you find time, dedicate a little time every week or every month for data analysis. So when you analyze data, you're able to you get insights, especially on leading indicators, which allow you to take actions proactively and get you in control.
Fair. There's just so much you said that my brain is still trying to catch up with it, right? We have elements of fear, we got the proactive control. Now, here's what I really want to layer into this then. There seems to be a lot of steps that one could take, start early and so on. What other daily habits do you think can build confidence?
See, just one habit, if they can focus, is going to make a huge difference to them, which is
Ah,
every day keep a summary of today's events, type them down. I mean, I know we have now, people do not write any longer, but we are
exactly.
very comfortable with typing. We are comfortable with typing. So my request to all salespeople is end of the day, spend 10-15 minutes and type what happened that day. What were the key interactions, both internally and externally? What are the key
Yes.
takeaways? What are the things you think you just make a note and mark it? Add in your you can keep a running Word document or have one document per day. Whatever, I leave it to the
Whatever,
salesperson.
whichever. Yeah,
But the moment you
absolutely.
do this, you get clarity. You will understand. Hey, I should have done this better.
Raghu,
These
in one
small
of our
improvements on a daily basis are what is going to define you.
and when we talk about small and daily investments, we talk about compounding, right? If you can improve what you do and save time by 2 minutes a day, in 30 days, you would have saved an hour from your life. And I think that's very powerful, that compounding
Absolutely.
impact. Raghu, great conversation. Final segment is coming up now. We're going to talk about expansion, how sales becomes a launchpad for leadership, adaptability, and even entrepreneurship. Stay with us. We'll be right back with real stories, fresh insights, and action steps to help you rise up at work without losing yourself. You're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Your ambition built your success, but somewhere along the way, your ambition took over and started running you. Hi, I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra. I'm an executive coach, sales strategist, and host of Rise Up at Work. I've spent 3 decades inside corporate walls, a long time. I've been witness to how pressure rewrites purpose, and when you lose sight of purpose, how the right mindset can help you reset and write a greater story. Rise Up at Work premieres soon on Now Media Television. Remember, it's time to move from surviving to thriving. It's time to rise up at work. And we're back. I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra, and you're watching Rise Up at Work on Now Media Television. Let's keep reclaiming your career and learning how to truly rise up at work. Welcome back to Rise Up at Work with Dr. Deepak Bhutra. This is our final segment of Rise Up at Work. We've talked about foundation, discipline, and resilience. Now let's zoom out to a bigger payoff, sales as a long term career advantage. Look, markets change, things happen, industries dip, roles evolve, but capability, real sales capability, it travels through careers, through decades. I want to talk with Raghu about how to position sales as a durable foundation for leadership and entrepreneurship. These are what I call transferable skills, where you learn, you develop. Adaptability during downturns is something that sales offers to you. And this is the universal truth that influence is everywhere, and you need to know how to influence and persuade. Raghu, we spoke about events that are outside of our control. We spoke about economic things happening, wars, and so on, right? In industry downturns and capability durability are interesting topics. We respect that. How does sales protect career momentum then? How would you respond to that?
See, sales is universal. Every company is selling, whether directly, online, through channel partners, to SMBs, enterprise, doesn't matter. Whether it is an FMCG or a SaaS product company or a hardware company or a services company. I know so many, for example, I know good friends who are specialist public sector government sales guys who have
Yes.
moved from IT hardware into telecom, from telecom into software, and from
Yeah.
software into now AI products because they know how to sell to government. So companies always need people like that. Similarly, channel managers. So I have seen channel
Yeah.
managers who have moved from technology to stationery and pens, because they had
Yeah. Yeah. That
in technology they had a very advanced and very structured channel policies and channel management techniques. They wanted somebody who can implement that in an unorganized market like
in
theirs.
yes.
you know
Yes.
so sales is a very perennial profession. All the salesperson needs to do is constantly keep understanding what they are doing, stick to the process, and uh, bring context to what they are doing. You see, it's the same sales job. It's just that you're going to be selling a different product to a different customer. So the
Different
sales
customer.
cycle will be
Correct.
different. So
So
you
this
you
is
just need to adapt.
I like this focus here because I think this tells people that selling is not the discipline or the profession. It's the various traits, values, something that you're doing. And if you do it the right way, then those what I call transmutable skills is what allow you to take your selling capabilities from widget to widget, gadget to gadget. I love that. Now, if I were to talk to some of the people on listening in, there may be some entrepreneurs out there. How do you think sales prepares people for entrepreneurship, Raghu? Going beyond revenue, or just is it just always about revenue?
See, sales is a great springboard platform to entrepreneurship. I think I can vouch for myself, because
Correct.
see what sales does is, one, it gets you out of comfort zone. So if you become an entrepreneur, you know that you need your first few customers to trust in you and
Yeah.
buy what you're selling. And with your
Yeah.
sales background, you're not dependent on anyone. You just get out there and create your first few customers. As a founder, you're very passionate, you're able to sell. Second, sales gives you a structure. With sales, we always plan in sales. I have a target, now I need to plan. So my plan is simple, four steps. Where am I today? Where do I need to reach tomorrow?
Hmm.
How am I going to do that journey? And what all do I need to for that journey? What all do I need? Now, I can apply this for entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
I'm able to just get on quickly. I have seen salespeople who have become entrepreneurs actually scale faster. They're able to. Obviously, you need other complementary skills later once you start scaling, but
Yeah.
sales can make this. And the third is, more importantly, sales prepares you for rejection. So as an
Yes.
entrepreneur, you're going to face a lot of rejection. So
That
you
is so
can
true. So
actually
true.
handle that better.
I, this is really powerful stuff because, if you are preparing yourself for resilience, and the entrepreneur's journey is a resilient one. I mean, to be honest with you, someone was asking me once, Deepak, what are the top three reasons why entrepreneurs fail? And I said, number one is cash flow. You're going to run out of money at some time if you've not done this thinking through. Number, and the best way to salvage that is also by selling. You have an idea, you have
Correct.
a product, you have a service. Sometimes if you don't sell it, you think that your product is so good because you're in love with your own product, right? So therefore you think that it's going to work out. It doesn't work out. Things have to change. Something unique has to happen. Raghu,
Even
when we
collection.
talk about learning and development, Raghu, quick question for you then. How does sales prepare someone for entrepreneurship beyond revenue?
See, sales is a superb platform for entrepreneurship, because as an entrepreneur, the first thing you need is your first few customers who believe in you. And who better than you, a founder who's also salesperson, to get out there, convince, and sell? That
And sell.
that's number
Yeah.
one. Second is your ability to plan. As salespeople, we are always trained to plan. This is my target.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to achieve the target, and these are the resources I need to achieve the target. So you bring that planning approach also into your entrepreneurship. And the third thing is your ability to handle rejections. you
Yeah.
you are able to, you, as an entrepreneur, you will get rejected more than while you are a salesperson. Being an entrepreneur is probably one of the toughest things in the world, and sales prepares you for it. And another interesting thing is, sales teaches you some real life things which are required. For example, collecting money from customer on time so that your cash flow is not affected.
V-
You know,
Very important
you
point,
can sell a
Raghu.
great product at a great gross margin, but if you don't collect, your business is in
Yep.
trouble. You're going to run out of cash. So
Yep.
and finally, sales teaches you how to be persuasive. So when you're hiring person for your team at a
Yes.
lower wage in the market, you are able to persuade them why they should believe in your future journey and join you. While you can't pay
That's
them
a
what they
unique
want,
angle.
but they believe in your journey. So you have to sell to them the
That's it.
job.
Absolutely. Now, Raghu, the entrepreneurship journey is not an easy one. We agree, both of us, right?
Correct.
There are also another angle I wanted to do. So many people listening in are not entrepreneurs. When we are selling and when we are focused on sales and sales skills, what skill sets do salespeople or sales managers bring to leadership roles? And how do those show up most when someone moves into management? What happens at a management level with a sales background?
See, the one of the first things that a positive aspect of a salesperson becoming a manager or getting into senior management is their ability to interact with people. You know, somebody
Yeah.
from a sales background who is now, say, a CXO does not mind speaking to the absolute frontline employee, spending time with them on the field or at the shop floor or at the service center,
Yes.
and taking first
Yeah.
hand feedback. You know, they're willing to get their hands dirty. You know, and the second thing is their ability to, I've already talked about this, they know their ability to persuade. You know, they're not shy to, they don't take this approach of, hey, I'm a senior manager, so you better listen to me.
Therefore,
They
yeah.
actually try
Yeah.
and
Very
persuade and
important.
get everybody on board, you know, very very importantly. So, see, there are many skills that sales brings to. See, one last thing is when you see a salesperson scaling the ladder to a senior management position, they keep
Yeah.
themselves grounded by learning about all the new products, technologies of their companies, just like the front end salesperson, and they
Spot
communicate
on.
it with the same passion.
That is a very important point. Very important point, Raghu. I really like that because this is also very powerful. The way I want to interpret your statement is, and I want listeners to focus on this one, is that if your intention is to become a sales leader, a people manager, or potentially get into leadership roles or management roles, then I think, Raghu, there's something you said which is very powerful. Focus on those skills or those abilities that you use as a salesperson and now magnify that. If you know your products and you're on the roadmap and you understand it, just understand that you now need to take that conversation from a features to a very, how do you say, strategic perspective, right? And
Absolutely
that's
correct.
just a mind shift. But I think that's very powerful in what you said there. Building a great foundation for leadership comes from executing very smartly on sales and learning those techniques and using those techniques and those skill sets to then accelerate your management career. Great
Yeah,
connectivity there. Raghu, there's something that I wanted to check with you. We know that salespeople need to remain hungry, they need to be honest, they need to ask for help. There's also a lot of leadership and learning and development that happens. You yourself are a leader on the training space. The question I want to ask is that one of the things that's happening is with AI, right? AI is everywhere, AI is pervasive. What's your take on AI and its role in sales? And can I say, and would you challenge me if I were to say that AI will not take your job, Mr. Salesperson, but your colleague using AI will take your job? Would you agree or disagree with that?
uh, I would partially agree.
Hmm.
See, while on paper it will look like AI will do a lot of things and communicate to customers, there are self-help chatbots and customer can
Yeah.
directly query, place order. But in reality, there are still going to be many segments where customers need the help of a salesperson to be a consultant, to be an advisor, to tell them what to buy and when to buy, how to buy, etc. Because we still live in a very competitive world, you know. But for salesperson, AI today is actually a blessing. You know, whether it is customer research or whether it is automating communication to customer marketing communications to keep the whole deal and the whole prospect warm. You know, suppose there is
Wow.
a 3 months time it takes for the whole sales cycle, non-stop
There's
communications can go. Then today, one of the biggest benefits of AI I'm seeing for salesperson is at the touch of a button, a salesperson is able to get analytics and get those leading
yes.
indicators and the past data. Before, a salesperson would struggle to do analytics. Today, thanks to AI, the whole analytics part has become magic today for a salesperson.
Absolutely.
So I would
So
look at it
Raghu,
as a blessing to the salesperson.
it is. I would agree with you. Raghu, how do viewers connect with you? We will have your phone number that we will. I believe your email address is
Absolutely, my
raghuraman
LinkedIn
at
is the best way to
salesart.com.
connect to me.
Yeah,
Yes, Raghuraman at salesart.com, and LinkedIn is the best way to connect to me. Plus my email, which I just told you, or you
sure.
can come to my website www.salezart.com, and the links are also provided there. And
Perfect.
please
Raghu,
do buy my book, DNA of a Champion Salesperson.
yeah. Raghu, thank you for reframing sales as what it really is, a life skill. It truly is. It's a leadership builder and a career advantage most people underestimate. I'm Dr. Deepak Bhutra, and this is Rise Up at Work. See you next time.